Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so have you ever felt like the prices of the stuff you buy are just a giant confusing game? Like someone behind a curtain is just pulling levers? Well, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to demystify those hidden economic forces dictating our everyday lives. We're spending the next few minutes cracking the ultimate price puzzle and figuring out exactly what drives the market. I mean, seriously, ask yourselves, why on earth does the exact same flight experience, we're talking the same cramped seat, the exact same destination, suddenly triple in price, going from 3,000 rupees to 9,000, literally just depending on the exact second you hit the buy button? And what about everyday household items, right? Like vegetables or seasonal fruits? Why do their costs seem to just shift right in front of our eyes? You know the drill. You could walk into a market at 9 a.m., pay an absolute premium, but if you go back at 7 p.m., you're getting those exact same veggies for a fraction of the cost. When you're walking through one of those bustling markets, the ones packed with buyers, sellers, just overflowing carts of produce, you start to realize something. Prices aren't actually random at all. They're clues. Every single price tag is the result of these powerful, invisible forces constantly working in the background. And together, they form this massive, real-world puzzle that we are about to solve. So here's how we're going to crack this case step by step. First, the everyday price puzzle. Second, unpacking demand. Third, understanding supply. Fourth, finding market equilibrium. And fifth, dynamic real-world markets. Let's get into it. Section 1, unpacking demand, the buyer's perspective. Okay, so the absolutely crucial point here is that demand isn't just about, desiring something. Like, I might really want a brand new sports car, but that definitely doesn't mean I'm contributing to the economic demand for it. To truly count as demand in a market, your willingness to buy has to be paired with the actual ability to buy it, what we call purchasing power. It's that exact combination, wanting it and actually being able to afford it at a specific price. Let's look at Shrivali's mango purchases because they perfectly illustrate the law of demand. Early in the season, when mangoes are at a pretty steep 150 rupees a kilo, her purchasing power only stretches to buy 1 single kilo. But as the price drops, things change. At 100 rupees, she buys 2 kilos. And when it plummets to 50, she happily walks away with 3 kilos. This perfectly showcases the fundamental inverse relationship of demand. As the price falls, the quantity demanded goes up. But here's the thing. It's not just about the price of the item itself. Our demand is heavily influenced by related goods. Think about substitute goods for a second. If the price of coffee suddenly skyrockets, you might just completely switch your morning routine to tea, right? They just replace each other. On the flip side, we have complementary goods. These are things used together, like cars and petrol, or smartphones and earphones. If cinema tickets suddenly become outrageously expensive, well, fewer people go to the movies, which means the demand for that giant overpriced cinema popcorn plummets too, even if the cost of the popcorn itself literally never changed. And then we have shifting tastes and population demographics, which completely rewrite the rules of demand. A nation with a booming younger population, they're naturally going to see a massive surge in demand for things like school textbooks, sports shoes, uniforms. And on top of all that, seasonality plays a huge role. I mean, you're not going out buying heavy winter jackets in the middle of a scorching July, right? But let me ask you this. Why does your willingness to pay suddenly drop off a cliff after you've had a few mangoes? Really think about it. That first mango? Absolutely delicious. The second one? Yeah, pretty good. But by the third or fourth, you probably just want a nap. This is thanks to an economic principle called diminishing marginal utility. Basically, as the usefulness or just the sheer satisfaction you get from each additional item falls, so does your willingness to pay for it. And that naturally pulls your individual demand down. Section 2. Understanding supply, the seller's perspective. So while us buyers are constantly hunting for a deal, sellers, they're looking for a profit. The law of supply is all about profitability, meaning sellers are highly incentivized to offer more of their product when the market price goes up. It's essentially the exact opposite of the law of demand. Take our seller, let's just call him Seller A. They react very differently to prices than our buyer Srivali did. When mangoes are selling for a mere 50 rupees, it's barely worth their time. They're only going to supply 1 kilo. But as the market price rises to 150 rupees, the potential for profit just spikes. Suddenly, the seller is super eager to supply a much larger quantity, like 3 kilos, just to maximize those earnings. Simply put, higher prices attract more production. But sellers aren't just looking at the current price tag. They're also influenced by all these hidden gears turning in the background. For a farmer, the profitability of alternative crops is a huge deal. If wheat prices are really low right now, but chickpeas are high, you better believe that farmer is planting chickpeas next season. Supply is also heavily driven by technological upgrades. Think about how something like drip irrigation can massively increase crop yields, or how cold storage allows sellers to transport those mangoes much further without them spoiling. Even future expectations play a part. A potato wholesaler might actually hold back their current stock if they're anticipating a massive price hike during an upcoming peak season.
Section 3. Finding market equilibrium. Buyers meet sellers.
Okay, so market equilibrium, this is that perfect theoretical sweet spot. It's the exact point of negotiation where the quantity of goods that buyers want perfectly matches the quantity that sellers actually have to offer. At this very specific price point, the market just clears completely. There's no leftover stock gathering dust in a warehouse, and there are absolutely no frustrated customers walking away empty-handed. Let's see how this actually builds in action. Say the price is 40 rupees. It's an absolute steal. Buyers demand 38 kilos, but sellers, they're only willing to part with 6. So that creates excess demand, a classic shortage. Now, flip that scenario. At 150 rupees, sellers are flooding the market with 43 kilos, but buyers only want 8. That gives us excess supply. But right there in the middle, at exactly 100 rupees, the magic happens. Demand and supply perfectly align at exactly 12 kilos. Both sides walk away satisfied. And that, right there, is our market equilibrium. But here is a really fascinating question. Does this perfect equilibrium actually exist for more than just a fleeting second? Or is it more of a chaotic scramble of constant adjustment? I mean, just think back to the great face mask shortage of 2020. Almost overnight, a pandemic caused demand to surge incredibly fast. Supply simply could not catch up, and so prices spiked massively. But then the market reacted. Suppliers bought new machines, they shifted their entire factories, and they produced more. And then, once the pandemic eventually eased, demand fell, and prices finally drifted back down to normal. So you see, equilibrium isn't some fixed destination. It's a constantly moving target that the market is always chasing.
Section 4. Dynamic real-world markets. Real-world pricing.
Think about booking a hotel room in Goa, that trip that never actually makes it out of the group chat. On a random off-season weekday in July, a room is going to run you about 1,500 rupees. Not bad at all. Come back on a prime tourist weekend in December, and that exact same bed is suddenly 8,000 rupees. But try to book it for New Year's Eve? No way. It leaps to an astonishing 25,000 rupees per night. The physical product, the room, the bed, hasn't changed one bit. Only the market forces around it have.
This just goes to show that real-world markets are wildly dynamic. Hotels, just like airlines or ride-sharing apps, might actually change their prices several times a day. They're constantly reacting to real-time data to squeeze out maximum revenue. Say a massive tour group cancels their booking, the hotel's algorithm might instantly drop prices by 40% just to fill those empty rooms. They're watching the speed of incoming bookings, checking competitor prices right across the street, monitoring local events, and even looking at weather forecasts to dynamically shift their pricing on the fly.
Which honestly leaves us with a pretty profound realization about our own power as consumers. Our everyday choices are literally the invisible hands turning the gears of this entire system. So I want to leave you with this final thought. As you navigate the everyday price puzzle in your own life, are you considering how your current consumption, like, say, the massive demand for fast fashion or the overuse of groundwater, might be permanently altering the supply of tomorrow? Are we trading our long-term sustainability for a few short-term deals? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and until next time, keep questioning the world around you.